brought to you by Jacob's Ladder from Buxton Breweries. The big hoppy little session beer, because it is only 2.7% alcohol, which is very light indeed, but it's delicious and it doesn't taste so light in alcohol, but it is only early in the day. Well, it's not actually, it's mid-afternoon, but anyway. I've read 3 more of the book Longlist, 2016. And I couldn't find them in the bookshop, so I had to resort to the Amazon, see inside amount, which is a sort of fixed amount. I don't know what it is, 7 or 8 pages or something. And I think it's fair to say that if I'm not convinced after cover, title, blurb, citations in 7 pages, that's fine. Obviously, the thing about prizes is you're supposed to read the entire novel. And the book are fairly stern about this and say that everyone has to read. There's about 155. They have to read the whole book, every 155 of them, and talk about them in depth and sensibly. So, in a sense, I'm not judging these as prize winners, because that's unfair, because books do change over time as you read them. But I am judging them in the sense that this is all we're given unless I buy all these books and read them, which I don't have the time to do because I'm running my own prize where I'm reading all of the book, or mostly. Okay, so let's go with The Sellout. I have to say I really struggled. This was on my list of might be's, but actually in 3 or 4 pages I was really struggling. For me, it feels quite like undergraduate creative writing prose, I have to say. It feels as though the writer is trying to be writerly. He has a notion of what good writing sounds like and is mimicking that. Now, I know there is in the tradition of black writing, a kind of mixture of high prose and vernacular, a kind of florid kind of, some of this is going to probably sound horribly kind of racist, but a kind of jazz prose. Lots of influences are kind of folded together and weaved together, and it's very kind of rich and musical. And there is that tradition, and I've read a lot of writing like that. If that's the tradition it's coming from, I don't think it's successful. If it's trying to do something else, which is just to be very kind of inventive and lively, I don't think it works, because it has a fondness for alliteration, and that's never good, because you always end up trying to find words that you can alliterate, and false notes come into the prose. For me, it's a real problem, because it doesn't. I feel as though I'm reading someone who is indulging themselves in the writing process and thinking, yeah, this is really good. This is what good writing is. And it's not, I'm afraid. However florid and colourful and rich and varied writing is, even when it has the kind of, a kind of chaos of urban noise, and all the kind of languages that certain American cities have around them, you still have to feel as though the writer is in complete control of this. I mean, Miles Davis used to say, during the free jazz era, you had to have freedom with control, and that's what kind of great free jazz does, and great free prose does it. I mean, there's much stream of consciousness writing out there, which has been you have this kind of paradoxical sense of how worked it is, and yet how free it has become from how worked it is. Once again, The Brilliant Solar Bones is like that, and The Brilliant Zone is like it. And on another note, if Pond by Claire Louise Bennett was uh, put in for the Booker and is on long, I mean that's just wrong on so many levels because it is a work of um, of kind of lo-fi genius. But anyway, so I really feel the sellout is a problem for me, and I'm I'm going to say something quite controversial here, which is I think it's made onto the shortlist because, quite frankly, I don't think the judges really know any African Americans, and therefore feel that this somehow is representative and it feels topical. So I think it is because I just don't think it warrants and it warrants a position on the shortlist with the quality of its prose. I'm sorry, that's the case. Okay, let's move to the oh god, I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, the cover will come up. Anyway, the Wailing One, set in Hull in the 19th century. I really, really enjoyed the first few pages of this, and just thought this is just writing of the highest order, and just really knows how to take you someplace and land you there. And you kind of feel if you look up from the book, everything in the room will have changed. It's hugely atmospheric without being kind of dreamy. And but then, and I'm going to read it. There's no doubt I'm going to read it. I did feel that actually there's a little bit too Cormac McCarthy here. It's kind of Cormac McCarthy in 19th century Hull in a whaling village. It's very masculine prose. It's sort of about the inexpressibility of the male character. Not much happens in these few pages, but I'm not sure. It's going to probably have to do something more. Otherwise, it is going to feel um, uh, as though it is as though the style, as you know, style is very important to me. But the style is delivering everything without it actually having a kind of quality of its own, because it does feel like that super masculine kind of Cormac McCarthy. Hard men do hard jobs kind of prose. And then there's the other one, can't remember that, but the cover will come up. Interestingly, that starts with fishermen. It's at the moment it's certainly set in modern day in terms of the I don't know how modern, but there are cars, so it's not 19th century. It's not dissimilar, except it's much gentler. We have a very kind of rural, isolated kind of atmosphere, fishermen, men, but this one's mystery is worn fairly straightforwardly. Within 5 pages, it's like there is a house on the hill. It hasn't been occupied. Oh, it seems to be occupied. What's all that about? This is a kind of more. It's a more ordinary expression in terms of prose than I think perhaps the other book is. And my sense is that I don't feel I'm going to be startled. I think it could be a very interesting book. It could be a very interesting story. It could be, in a sense, it feels like it's a perfectly passable novel, which is kind of damning it with faint praise, but I don't really mean to. But unlike, if we go back to My Name is Lucy Barton, Hot Milk, and The Wailing One, nothing in this makes me feel as though I want to read it, whereas the other 3 I do. So there's, out of 6 books so far, 3 I do want to read, and 3 I really don't in the end. I don't think I've got the time to read. Well, one I will never read. The other seemed to be pointless. And this one, just, there are going to be better books out there. That's it. So 3 down, quite a few to go. I hope this has helped anyone who's interested or whatever. As I said, and brought to you, not really brought to you, I'm just drinking it, Buxton Lager, Jacob's Ladder.